So I want to tell you again about my 101 course, which is coming up in the spring. So, what is in this course? Okay, first of all, the details are posted, the price, the links. If you need any of that stuff, you can ask. They're in all my bios, they're on my website under training. It's a pretty cool course. It's casual, come and go as you please. What we do in the course is not only learn the principles, but more importantly, practice them. So I really like the live demo component of the course where you can learn conversational hypnosis in the moment and practice it in the moment. So you can actually see it working and ask any questions that you have live instead of studying the theory first and then coming to the hypnosis, later or on your own time. So the course is interactive. It's not a course about like reading history or reading books or, the foundation of hypnosis is already something you can find out on your own. So I'm not going to teach you that. I'm going to teach you the skill that I use here in my office that's special and that creates these really powerful and rapid transformations that you see, me posting about. So it's different than traditional hypnosis because, of course, as you know, in traditional hypnosis, there's a predictive element, right? So traditional hypnosis has a lot to do with, so what's the problem? Oh, okay, close your eyes. Let me tell you that you don't have that problem. Let me explain to you, your identity beyond that problem. And that has a kind of formulaic approach to it because obviously the hypnotist is the one who delivers, so to speak, the solution or the suggestion of a solution. That's a lot of guessing that I try to avoid in my office or that I do avoid in my office. I don't want to tell you to close your eyes and let me tell you who you really are because, to be quite frank, I just don't find that super reliable. Like, you've been you a lot longer than I've known you, no matter who you are. So it's very important that the guessing not be the corrective component. So I just do away with it. I don't do any guessing. I don't give advice. I don't give suggestions. So the skill that I'm teaching you here is what I really am good at and what I really do in this office, which is the interaction with the subconscious. And that is what we're going to study. What is the subconscious? How do we interact with it? How do we recognize it? How do we communicate with it? How do we help it? How do we invite it? How do we make it feel comfortable? So that's what my course is about, is that interaction. And inside of that interaction is the education on the principles of conversational hypnosis, which you will be able to use immediately. Okay. So it doesn't take, it's not rocket science. So, a component that's essential to understand about this is the low and no pressure approach. Okay, so as I was just saying, when you're asked to read a script or you have to deliver a correction to a client, right, as a traditional hypnotist, there's a lot of pressure on that. It's like, oh, I'm going to you to quit smoking. You're going to create, an environment where I can be a non-smoker. So, personally, I find that neither here nor there because, as I said, there's too much guessing involved. It's not really predictable. It's a lot of pressure on the practitioner. I don't necessarily feel that with that much pressure, there's a possibility for a really accurate assessment of what's happening. So I say a no pressure system because I want to teach you to let go of that addiction to being prepared and instead show you that if you know principles and you know the way through the subconscious, you don't need to hold on to a piece of paper and try to predict what's about to happen. So I'm going to teach you more about the assessment of the subconscious and about becoming a complete and comfortable receptacle for the client subconscious so that you can let the client have the experience and not interrupt it, not interfere with it, and not put yourself inside of it. Because that's the predictive part that interrupts the client is when the practitioner says, "Oh, hey, here, I have an idea. It's probably better than your idea." It's like, well, no, that's just not functional. So it's a no pressure approach, not because we don't have high stakes. I think we have very high stakes. I'm basically doing rapid transformations, like 1, 2 sessions to deal with really serious stuff. And I'm not a medical doctor, just don't forget that. But at the same time, it's not a high pressure situation where I feel the onus is on me. I'm using the tools and I'm using the structure of my technology, and that's what does the heavy lifting for me. So that's what I'm going to show you. It's not the same as writing a script or guessing. Another thing I'm not going to teach you is relaxation. I'm not going to teach you to count 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, close your eyes. You're very relaxed. I don't teach that stuff. If you want to learn it, there's lots of courses out there. There's nothing wrong with learning it, of course, but this is the wrong course for that. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's not the heart of my approach. So I don't love the idea of having a super analytical person in my office, like, a teacher or a lawyer, doctor, dentist, people who are naturally good at questioning because of their background and education. And everybody has this. I don't want to say it's just a certain group of people, but I'm particularly uninterested in having professionals who have a lot of things to do and have busy lives, mothers, everyone, parents, and they're lying down with their eyes closed, with me trying to tell them who they are. Like that's not the idea. So I'm avoiding all that. I'm not going to use that. I'm not going to tell you how to relax. Okay, so this is a course about not those nuts and bolts, but a different feel and a different sense of what the subconscious and hypnosis really is. So, by teaching you my question and answer approach, my conversational approach, what we're going to get into is fractionation. How do we fractionate a person's consciousness or subconsciousness? How do we untie problems and knots by actually engaging more of the subconscious mind? That's my vision and my approach. I love doing it that way because instead of picking on every detail or on doing a protocol or following some kind of prescriptive investigation, I discard all of that and follow the client's subconscious. This is a very fast way to do things because the client themselves knows the most. So, by getting away from pressure and scripting and predictive methods, I'm actually speeding everything up because we're taking out all of the guesswork and all of the, hey, let me tell you how to do it. Because let's be honest, just because I have a huge amount of paper on the wall here doesn't mean I know anything about a person who's sitting right in front of me. I know a lot about minds. I know a lot about the mind. I know a lot about how the mind works, but the person who's in front of you is an original. They're always their own self, and they have the fastest solution. If you can engage with them in their subconscious, that is the ticket. So if you want to know why my method is speedy, it's because it's a principles-based method, and I create it in the moment with each client. That's why it's dependable, and that's also why it's predictable, even though it sounds like it's less predictable. It's actually more predictable because the mind works a certain way. And once I engage the mind in a certain way, it doesn't really have too many options, doesn't have too many places to go. It's not that it's not that hard to understand, really. Like if you consider a really great dentist, when you go, knows how to fix what the problem is. They don't need to, explain you the way that they're going to do it because they already know that way. I'm not saying that you don't deserve a conversation, but the dentist is already educated about the solution. So, are you going to go to a dentist who says, I'm going to see you 6 times for an hour each and it's going to take forever? Or are you going to go to the one who says, I can, put this crown on in an hour and get you in and out of here? Obviously, you're going to go for the faster version. So that's what this is. This is the dentist for the mind, so to speak, the soul doctoring. But I'm not a medical doctor, just to remind you, because it has that sense of, I know how to do this, we're going to get it done right now. And once the client is on board with that, the most efficient way is the client's way. And that's also the fastest way. So the dentist example is meant to show you, like, well, of course you're going to pick the person who knows the lay of the land, so to speak, and knows the fastest way in and out. That's what my approach is like, why would we do 6 visits over 3 months if we can just, get the crown on, so to speak, right now and do a one-time fee? So that's my approach. And that's why it's so exciting for people, because the speed version delivers the client results, and the no pressure, no prediction version or approach delivers a custom product that you can duplicate and rely on. So that's what I'm going to teach you is, what are the principles, what's the structure, what's the felt sense, so that you don't have to write scripts, feel stressed, freak out. I mean, another thing I didn't say is, like, what do you do when the client shows up and they've changed their problem? You think they're going to quit smoking and they sit down and say, oh, I'm sick of my husband, I'm going to get divorced. Okay, well, now what do you do with your script? So I get around all those problems by doing an extemporaneous, in the moment study of the client. And that's what I'm going to teach you. Once you know the language of the subconscious, you can speak it with everybody. I'm not saying it's the same with everybody, because everyone's subconscious is different, but you'll know the principles and the guideposts so that you can start to solve problems right away and do it very quickly. The last thing I want to say about that is, that's a very important business step as well, because it's a huge advantage to the client, of course, to go faster and be more efficient. But also for us as practitioners, if you have a 6 visit or 12 visit model, it takes a lot more effort and energy. You have to bill by the hour or by the package or whatever. So that's not a super sustainable model for a very long-term commitment, just because you'll run out of time eventually, as I have run out of time. So the idea is to deliver the results instead of the hours spent, because nobody really wants to do that. And if they do, then it's a different product. What we're doing here is rapid, dependable, efficient transformation or problem solving. And I would love for you to be there. So if you have questions about the first level 101, which is the next one I'm going to teach, you can chat them to me or put them in comments, or even book a 20-minute call with me if you want to talk, more and ask questions. Or you can just buy it by clicking through the link. I have a couple payment options. If you need something else, you can always write to me. I would love to have you. So don't be shy. Ask me anything you need to know. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in class. This is Dr. Maya Alpin. I'm not a medical doctor or a mental health care practitioner, and I will see you on the next video.